Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Hey, docs, welcome to another episode of Modern Chiropractic Mastery. This is your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, and today I have Amanda Campana on the interview for you from VisionSpark, and she was kind enough to co-present to our mastermind group in Nashville, Tennessee, and they specialize in hiring, and we're going to dive into a lot of the nuances of hiring, and I'm actually going to have a little bit of a call to action to reach out to me if you feel like you have an associate that is kind of a builder. I think there's associates that we could categorize if they're effective. Let's take the non-effective associates out of the equation, but the ones that you find effective, there's three types, and I've heard this from different circles. One, you got the sustainers. You got a really busy practice. You just need a doctor to come in and doctor, and they do a good job at that. Not expecting them to necessarily be the next category would be a builder, like someone that's going to help build a practice, and that might be through different initiatives, through just referrals, things of that nature. And then the third is your hunter. Those are the ones, and you've seen chiropractic practices where they expect to hire an associate to go out and actually bring in their own new patients only or mostly, and they're highly compensated on that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I just think there's a select percentage of associates that are hunters. I think a good percentage of them are builders, and I think a good percentage of them are sustainers. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're hiring an associate or you are an associate, I think there needs to be some understanding around that and be congruent with it, right? If you're looking for a builder, hire a builder. If you're looking for a sustainer, hire a sustainer. If you need a hunter, hire a hunter. If you hire a hunter, you better have some good growth potential for them because they may hunt really well and realize they're going to do it on their own pretty quickly. So a lot of things to consider, and we dive into a lot of the variables of hiring. And my call to action is that they did a tip assessment, which she's going to describe in this interview, for our decision makers or our office managers. I shouldn't say full decision makers, but office managers, patient practice managers, things like that, for our mastermind members. And they had them taken the hour assessment, and mine did as well. And then they went over the results and provided us a full report with it. It was a really cool way of hiring, and they don't currently have one for hiring chiropractic associates. So MCM in the mastermind is actually paying and working with them to try to develop an assessment, a tip assessment specific for hiring a chiropractor. And we're actually going to use the middle one there, the builder. We're looking for 10 associates that we would consider builders. I would love for them to have at least been in your practice for at least 6 months. More than a year would be even better. And you need to answer the question, knowing what I know now about them, would I still hire them? Right? And if they've been with you for 2 years and you say, yes, knowing what I know now, I would hire them. If you can say yes to that and they fit the other parameters, reach out to me, Kevin at modern-hockey.com. I'd love to chat with you. Maybe they could be one of the 10 that we're looking to take this assessment and a couple other things so that we can build a tip assessment for hiring a chiropractic associate. So that's my call to action for you. Check that out. Lastly, before we dive into the interview, we've got a lot more details about our different coaching and marketing options for you. Go to modernchiropracticmarketing.com. There's a coaching tab there and check that out. And you can have some details of what we do, whether it's group coaching, one-on-one coaching, marketing done for you, a little bit of both. We've got 47 clinics underneath our programs now, and they're growing. Many of them have been with us for a while, and it's cultivated quite an ecosystem within our group of chiropractors to help each other out, us help them, hold accountable, and have some growth initiatives going. So check it out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. All right, without further ado, here's my interview with Amanda Campana. All right, welcome to the show, Amanda. I really appreciate your time today. I'm excited to talk about a fresh topic on this podcast. And before we do, tell us a little bit about yourself personally, professionally, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm excited to be here and to have the opportunity to speak with your audience. And hopefully provide some, helpful information to them. So my name is Amanda Campana. I am a senior search consultant for VisionSpark, which is a executive search firm. We are based out of Columbus, Ohio, and we've been in business just over 10 years. Typically, we focus on the number two leader in our searches, but we do, we run the gambit. So we can do anywhere from entry level all the way up to your top senior, executive team members as well.
Yeah, and one of the things I know you guys do a lot with is kind of that you got the visionary and the integrator, and the integrator is a big thing that you're working with visionaries on providing for their business, right?
Yes, yes. That's really our niche, if you will.
Mhm.
But like I said, we do searches, for sales professionals, marketing, finance, anything that you need.
Yeah, and obviously we had you and Alec Broadfoot, who
Mm.
is the founder of Vision Spark, and I know him through Strategic Coach, and that's how we first connected, which is always nice, and bringing some experts from Strategic Coach into our chiropractic world. And you both came to our Nashville East Mastermind group back in April, and talked about this, and it was really eye opening. One of the things we're going to talk about is this particular assessment that you utilize there, and how it can be tailored to the position. And so, obviously, you do a lot with integrators, but what we did, which was cool, is we did it for kind of our um, whether it was your office manager, practice manager, or maybe it's your spouse that really kind of runs the office. Maybe there's two doctors and one really does more of the running the office, or just your key decision maker. You guys were kind enough to have all of us members have our key decision maker in the practice that wasn't themselves, right? Uh,
Right.
take take this detailed assessment, and then you provide us with a really detailed report during the day of our mastermind, and we kind of dove into that, which was really cool to see. So I wanted to lay that kind of framework around that, and tell us about this assessment, the name, some of the background of it, why it's really helpful when picking the right people. Because we just hear so much about I can't
Yeah.
find good people, I can't keep good people. Like it's a common complaint, and we're trying to solve that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the assessment tool that we use, I mean, first of all, I think it's important to address, do you even have a hiring process? I think
Yeah.
that's usually kind of the root of the issue. When we talk with business owners, with visionaries, entrepreneurs, that's usually the starting point is, do you even have a process that's repeatable, that is followed by all, to make sure that, you're going through each step of the process with each candidate. A lot of times you get into a situation where you're like, oh gosh, I needed somebody yesterday. And then it becomes, this immediate, need. And you start to make knee jerk or gut reactions. And that can, really put you in a bad spot. Because the cost of a bad hire, it's more than just how much you paid them, but it's, all of the residual um, kind of costs that go into it as
Yeah.
alongside that. So we utilize the TIP assessment that stands for the Talent Impact Profile Assessment. This tool is different from anything else that you've seen, any other um, assessment tool on the market, because we measure 16 different mental aptitudes and personality dimensions.
Mm.
So this then, a lot of times we get the results from an assessment that we took. It took us 10 minutes to take it, and we've got, four to maybe 10 results that we can look at. But the talent impact profile assessment really looks at your core behaviors. So it's really giving you a much more well-rounded picture of a candidate versus just, knowing um, 4 to 8, different aspects about them. So it's a much more robust assessment, which is why we utilize it in our process.
Yeah, definitely. And it's you mentioned having a hiring process, and I think a lot of people think of hiring and are just like, oh, I got to make sure I have the right questions, or do I use Indeed or do I use whatever, right? Craigslist. No, I'm just kidding. And they think of that, and then I think another flaw. especially I see with chiropractors, is they're very reactive with hiring and
Mhm.
not proactive. And one of the things I try to get chiropractors to understand is to have some redundancies in the practice, because a lot of times we're like micro businesses, we're very small. Some people it's just one person, some it's three or four.
Mhm.
And so you don't have 25 or 50 employees where there can be some natural redundancies, but a practice should have some redundancies so that you have a little bit of grace period if someone puts in their 2 week notice to get the right person in and not rush it. I think that's a big problem. And then when let's kind of put aside for the sake of this particular episode, the front desk. I don't know if you would have the front desk take this assessment or not, because A, I'm not sure if there is a tip, one that's specific for that. B, it can be like getting a front desk. It's kind of like online dating now, where they're it's like finding a needle in a haystack, and then they've got 43 different opportunities, and so you got to kind of get them in and hire them. Obviously, not too fast, but hiring decision makers, people that you're really wanting to invest in, I think could be great. And what I liked about this assessment was, yeah, you get the personality side of things and you get the aptitude side of things. I remember I once had an employee where um, the patient put it in a way that was kind, but you could say he's like, he just his cup gets filled up a little bit too quickly.
Mhm.
And that's what it was. Like there just wasn't a big capacity there, and you could train them and educate them and coach them until you're blue in the face, but it just wasn't the capacity there. Versus I've had people in the same position where it's like, oh, wow, it's like there's endless capacity. It's like this is amazing. And that's some of the things that the tip assessment does provide, which I really liked about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, even if you don't use the tip assessment in your hiring process, you can still use it as a team health tool as well. So when you talk about, that front desk person, it still would be a valuable piece of information just to know your team at a deeper level and to know how to interact with them, to understand better how they receive feedback so that you can give, better feedback if you're talking to that person who's got if they're at their capacity, how do you talk and approach them that's going to be in such a way that they'll receive it well?
No, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, because you might notice on there where it's like, okay, there again, there's a lot of cool points on that report we got. And you might notice that, yeah, maybe they operate like this, and you have someone else on your team that operates that could kind of fill that void a little bit. And so you're building a team around that.
Exactly. I mean, it all comes down to not only just the mental aptitudes, but the personality dimensions as well. So, for example, if you've got, so we'll use that office manager
Hmm.
or front desk role. If you've got someone who is in a highly visible role that's going to need to be on the phone, that's going to need to be interacting with your patients on a regular basis, one category that you're going to need to focus on is communication. Because we look at the way that the assessment is measured is on a stay 9 scale. So it's on a 1 to 9 scale, but again, 1 is not always bad, 9 is not always great. This
Yeah.
is not a 1 to 10 kind of a, 10 being the highest. It's not a grade. Really, you're looking at where does someone fall on the spectrum to understand, how to interact with them better. So using that example of, let's say a receptionist or a front desk
Hmm.
um, employee, when you look at their communication, you're probably going to want them to be a little bit on the higher side of communication. And by higher, I mean more like a 6, 7, 8. Because once you get into those eights and nines, the concern is, are they going to be a good listener
Hmm.
versus, someone who's a 1, 2, or 3, that's going to show up as someone who's a little bit more reserved, more a little bit, introverted.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to find that right mix for that specific position.
Hmm.
And the cool thing about the tip assessment is, and I'm sure we'll get to this in a little bit, but um, we can create uh, role specific templates that will identify what are the ideal areas for each of the 16 categories for the role that you're specifically looking for. So we did have a template for this, office manager position that we were able to, identify where those areas that are going to be the most successful of a person scoring within. So I think it's really great that the tip, it can be customized
Mm.
to your specific organization, to your specific role. The good thing is you mentioned earlier interview questions
Yeah.
and, how important people put on, got to have the right interview questions. Another benefit of the tip assessment is that within the report that you're given with the results of the candidate or whoever's taking it, at the end of the report, it will identify any outliers. And outliers are scores that are falling outside of the success template, and it will give you several different interview questions. That way, it gives you the opportunity to know, okay, this is an area I need to dig a little deeper in a final interview to understand, this candidate even
Mhm.
more so. So it gives you a interview questions that you can take into an interview setting to be prepared for that.
No, that's cool. And I want to kind of touch a little bit more on, you mentioned communication, and I think we all can relate to that, where there's like a fine line of communication where like, yeah, I want someone that's precocious and can talk and but then we've all met that person like at works the front desk or whatever, where it's just like, okay, we got to like stop talking sometimes and do some work and listen and things like that. So definitely can resonate with that.
Yeah.
What are some others on that personality? Just a few other things that are
Yeah.
measured on that, so people can get an idea.
Well, one of the categories is mental aptitudes. So we mentioned
Yeah.
mental aptitudes, personality dimensions.
Mm.
When you're looking at mental aptitudes, we're looking at one of the categories is learning style. So you want to talk about somebody who's got that, kind of capacity ceiling. This is
Yeah.
an area that would kind of identify that in an individual. So it's problem solving tendencies, decision making speed. When you think about someone's learning style, are they more of a hands on learner? Or they enjoy more repetitive tasks, or are they more of a conceptual learner? So that's something that, the assessment will identify. We look at things like marketplace awareness. This refers to someone's observation skills, their retention of information. So if you think about someone who is very knowledgeable about current events, that would be displayed in that category. Another really important mental aptitude is numerical accuracy. And this is measuring a person's attention to detail when dealing with numbers and symbols. So their rapid visual scanning ability. This is so extremely important, even with a position that's like a front desk, employee, because they're going to be scheduling. They're going to be looking at phone numbers. They're going to be looking at very detailed information. You want to make sure that it's accurate. So that category is important. If you're a high level CFO or if you're an executive assistant, dealing with multiple schedules and trying to make sure that you're on top of everything. That's that high level attention to detail. Some examples of other personality dimensions that we look at. We mentioned communication. A big one is process orientation.
Hmm.
And this is someone's ability to adapt to change, their reliability and consistency, their approach to processes and adhering to them. So, are they a rule follower on one end of the spectrum? Or are they someone who might tend to bend the rules a little bit, on the other side of the spectrum?
Hmm.
There's also assertiveness. That's a good
Hmm.
one to talk about. This measures a person's desired level of authority, their need for control, and their attitude towards confrontation. So you want to make sure that you're, paying attention to that level of assertiveness, especially when you're dealing with patients. Patients who are potentially in pain, who are uncomfortable. You want to make sure that you're speaking in such a way that is sensitive to, what they're experiencing. Um, Kind of akin to that is audience sensitivity,
Yeah.
which is measuring a person's attitude towards criticism, their level of empathy,
Hmm.
their ability to read the audience. So again, that's going to be a big one to consider.
Yeah, and I think it's important, right? Like if you're hiring a front desk person versus a billing person, can be two different things, right? Like you
Right.
might be able to hire that introvert that's really good with numbers and a few other things. And that's going to, what you're going to probably look for on billing or office manager that is handling some of the financials and paying bills and that type of stuff. Uh,
Payroll.
or
Yeah.
yeah, right. So it's, depending on that role, I think as a chiropractic office, you'll see definitely front desk, you'll see office manager, you'll see billing people. Sometimes you will see, um, a person that acts like a kind of a fractional CFO or bookkeeper in the office, certain things of that nature. I guess you could, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you were, you know, hiring a bookkeeper, right? Not full time, but just,
Mhm.
outsourcing that. Could you have them take this assessment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Alec always brings up a story. I forget the client, but it was several years ago. One of his clients here in Ohio, who they were hiring a controller, and it was a full time position. But to your
Mm,
point, yes, you can give anyone this assessment. This individual was hiring for a controller. He had three really good candidates that he was really excited about. And he said, "All right, Alec, go give him this assessment. Let's see what it looks like." Every or each of the 3 had significantly low numerical accuracy numbers, and Alex said, "Don't do it, don't do it. We need to go back to the drawing board." Unfortunately, this, business owner, he decided to hire one of those candidates anyway. 6 months later, he was on the phone with Alec because that person had made about a $500,000 in mistakes within that 6 months. So,
it's
I
a big
would
one.
highly recommend anyone, contract or otherwise, it would be appropriate to take
Yeah.
this assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a break from today's episode and announce our first sponsor. This is going to be Propel Marketing and Design. I've known Darcy Sullivan for years. We've worked hand in hand on my websites. I don't trust anybody else to do the search engine optimization. She does a great job. There's so much to it. A lot of the lingo and the words are beyond my comprehension, but it's just amazing work that she does. And if you're really going to get results with Google, you have to make sure your website is SEO optimized. And I really don't want you doing it yourself as a chiropractor. So you just have to have this type of stuff done. And if you're looking to get more organic online traffic that pulls in new patients, Propel Marketing and Design is currently offering chiropractors who listen to this podcast a free SEO website review. The free review will help you uncover methods that will improve your website and boost your search engine visibility. Head over to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor and schedule your free SEO website review. You won't regret it. She gets great results. Your website needs this. Your search results need this. Head on over there to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor to get your free SEO website review. Let's take a short break for one of our great sponsors, TrackStat. It is a new type of software plugin for your EHR that combines patient communication, marketing, automation, and statistics with patient and employee tracking. Built by chiropractors for chiropractors, it shows your team what to focus on each day. See patient visit habits, missing information, unpaid bills, insurance collection visit average, and more. Great visibility of data so you can focus on filling your office with your best patients. When you can see what your staff and patients are doing or not doing and take action accordingly, your profits naturally grow. Take TrackStat for a test drive in your office with our free trial. Not a techie, no problem, we can help. To get started on your free trial, visit trackstat.org and watch the demo. That is trackstat.org. I left that weekend in Nashville and I was kind of like, you know, I would say one of the massive problems we have in our profession, we definitely have issues with the overall hiring. Um, but is this disconnect between owner chiropractor and associate chiropractor? And there's like a mismatch happening there quite a bit. And sometimes it's nobody's fault. It's not the owner's
Mhm.
fault. It's not the associate's fault. They're just wasn't clarity. There wasn't, a process of really finding the right person. I know you and I were on the phone talking about it, and there's like three different categories I've heard some of this from, I want to give credit to Alan Miner. I think he talked about it. Um, and I could be getting it wrong, but I think you'll get the essence of it. At least the audience will understand it as far as what they see with chiropractors. Um, you're gonna have the sustainer, right? Like the chiropractor comes in and they're gonna help sustain the patient base. They're kind of a clock in, clock out. They just want to be a clinician. They just want a doctor, and that's fine. The second one you're gonna have is a builder. They're gonna come in. They're gonna turn one new patient into 10, right? Like they're gonna drive referrals. They're good clinically, good personality, and then you're going to have the hunter, right? And a lot of the practice owners, the one that have built a very good, thriving practice, a lot of times they were the hunters in a lot of ways. And that's the one that's going to go out there and they're bringing in patients, like they're going to events, they're doing things, and they're hunting and getting them in. And so I think a lot of times the owner chiropractor is looking for a hunter, but they hire a sustainer, or they're looking for a sustainer and hunter comes in and it's like they butt heads. Like there's a lot of
Right.
things that's going on with that. And so you mentioned earlier is that you do have the ability to develop the tip assessment that is kind of tailored to a position. And I know that you and I have talked about that because right now there is nothing that we've done with the tip as far as hiring a chiropractor. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we can absolutely develop. We talked about the success template for the role, and in this regard, we may consider creating three. One for each of those different types of associate chiropractors that you just mentioned. Um, e- One of the categories that we look at within the personality dimensions is motivation, and it's not necessarily how motivated somebody is, but what are they motivated by? Are they more
Yeah.
motivated by stability, having that regular paycheck, having that regular schedule, or are they more motivated by incentives?
Mm.
And that would clearly help to identify, which one are we, what is this candidate showing up as? To help you know, okay, I know I'm looking for a hunter, but this person is showing up on more of the stable side. So that may not be the right fit for you. But yeah, we can create customized templates for any organization, for any position. There's a discovery process that goes along with that.
Yeah.
A lot of conversation and making sure that VisionSpark, that we understand what the need is and what the desired outcomes are. But yeah, that's something that we do.
Yeah, and that's what obviously we're going to work together doing that. And I know we're trying to get a sample size of, and I'll put the call to action out there now for the audience. Um, is that we're looking for like 10 really good associates where you're like, you know what? I guess you could answer that question. Let's say that person's been with you for a year at least, the associate, and you can answer the question, knowing what I know now, would I hire this person again? If you can answer yes to that, then that person probably would be a good candidate to take this assessment. Because I believe we're going to try to get 10 to take it, aggregate the data, and then because correct me if I'm wrong, the assessment's the same, right? It's just the
Correct.
parameters, like what we're looking for as far as parameters of response would change between those three types of chiropractors. Is that right?
Exactly. Yes. All of the questions are the same. Everyone is taking the same assessment. Um, but it would be us determining where do those success templates, where do those need to fall based on what you're looking for.
Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am, but like, let's say if we asked for 10 builders, right? I want
Mhm.
10 builder associates to take this assessment and see what this looks like. Because I would think if you ask most people, um, there's no right or wrong, but I would say probably more chiropractor owners are looking for builders.
Mhm.
There's definitely some that need clinicians, like just come in and do your job of
Your
being
patients,
a
right?
doctor. Like there's definitely people looking for that. And there definitely are a lot of chiropractors that sometimes they think they're looking for a hunter, but they don't really like. But I think a lot of stable practices that can afford can appropriately afford to hire a chiropractor and not pigeonhole it are probably looking for that builder. I think it's kind of a sweet spot for a lot of practices. Would it make sense to get 10 builders to take this, see what that looks like, could you then utilize that? And if someone was looking for a sustainer, they could kind of cross check it with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because once we have that baseline for the builder, I would say that we could do it on either one, the hunter or the sustainer as well. Because we can take a look at some of the key dimensions and identify, okay, well, what do we need in a sustainer? Okay, so this category needs to go this way, so on and so forth. And I
Yeah,
think we would definitely be able to develop based on the
something around
builder.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, like if you get someone that's like super introverted and that's like their communication style and all that, they're not going to be a hunter.
Right.
Again, there's always going to be outliers to that, but most of your super introverts are probably going to be phenomenal clinicians and do well in that setting. And they could be a builder because maybe they are really good at clinically and they do have good bedside manner and they can communicate well in one-on-one interactions, but they're not necessarily going to be the person that's going to go out and give a talk to 45 people and develop all that, right?
Right. They're not gonna be at the farmer's market,
Yeah.
under a tenant saying, "Hey, come to my practice."
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where because I just, and I know I'm not the only one out there trying to help solve this, but the more the merrier, is trying to make sure that we can really get owners clear on the type of doctor that they're looking to hire, and then also the associates, not being, not getting jobs that weren't best for them, right? And because there was a
Right.
mismatch on that. And then honestly, I mean, this goes across the board. There is the cognitive part of this. And the fact of the matter is like you do like if you're hiring a chiropractor, you do need someone that is cognitively capable. And we would be surprised, like people do get through chiropractic school and they're boards and they're really not there where they need to be. Again, depending on your clinic too, because we have some chiropractors out there um, that it's super simple. It's just adjustment, whatever, come in, get adjusted, they're good with that mechanically. But then we have some clinics where they're really diving into certain complicated things like chiropractic neurology, or
Right.
they're doing certain things like McKenzie technique and DNS and this, and you got to have a lot of hats and you got complicated cases. Like and right now I'm kind of talking to the audience. There's some chiropractors out there that it's very straightforward. It's wellness based. It's not that, and then we got others where it's like they're dealing with degenerative conditions. They're dealing with chronic pain that's complicated. And so
Mm.
the chiropractor you're looking for is probably going to have a high capacity for that.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree, and that's definitely something that I think would come out in these results. I mean, at the end of the day, the results help you learn even more about the candidate that's sitting across the table from you, and that's really what we want to help you in terms of being able to make a more data driven and a more confident hiring decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's exciting because there's two sides of our profession. There's the evidence-based chiropractors, which we fall into, and then there's the other side of the profession that really just has a different school of thought. We'll kind of leave it at that. And then within that evidence-based chiropractors, there's owner doctors are looking for certain types of chiropractors that can stand the test of clinical excellency, but then also help build a patient base, and sometimes that
Yeah.
can go hand in hand, and sometimes it doesn't, and I think this could really help, solve this problem.
Yeah, I agree.
So, this has been awesome. If our audience is out there looking to find out more about VisionSpark, more about the tip assessment, where can they find more information?
It's visionsparksearch.com is our website. So that's the best way to get in touch with us. There's a contact us button on the homepage that will, uh, you can leave your information there and then someone can reach out to you about services that you're interested in.
Perfect. And then my audience they know kind of how to reach out to me, whether it's Facebook Messenger or email, Kevin at modern-jockey.com. If you feel like you have a builder associate, or you think maybe you're confused as if they are or not, but you think they could be good and they've been with you for at least a year, And you can answer that question. Knowing what I know now, I would really want to hire them again. We are trying to get 10. We do have a handful. We're trying to get 10 to take this assessment. It does take a little bit of time. It's about an hour to take the assessment.
About an hour, hour and 15 minutes. You need to be, in an environment where you're outside of distractions. So no kids in the room, no barking
Yep.
dogs, do your best. And there are some other parameters, but we give you that information ahead of time just to make sure that you're comfortable, you're showing up as your authentic self, and that you're doing the best you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that way, we can start at MCM here, kind of working on this for you. The mastermind group is footing the bill for this as a collective. I mean, I kind of allot some of our revenues from the mastermind for these types of projects to help better the profession, and so the mastermind was excited about that, and some of the members are do have associates that they're having
Yeah.
take this, so that's pretty cool. And last year we did a $5,000 kind of donation to one chiropractor. It was like a whole application process. That was fun. That was quote unquote sponsored by the mastermind. This year we're doing this because it's going to be an investment to make this happen, but we're excited to do it. And so reach out to me again, Kevin at modern-jockey.com. If you want your associate to be part of that, reach out to the information I'll put in the show notes to reach out to Amanda's team. If you want to contact them directly, because you want to maybe start hiring an office manager, a front desk, a billing person, whatever. Some of you we have some folks that have really big practices and they frankly need an integrator, and they could reach out to you for that as well. So I really appreciate your time, Amanda. Is there anything I didn't ask you that would help our audience?
Hmm, that's a good question. That's such a loaded
I
question.
know, I know. There must not be. I think I asked all the
Dumb
questions.
spot. I think you did too. I mean, it really, the the important thing is that you have a process and you have an assessment so that you can make those data-driven decisions. Once you have that, then you've got the confidence, to make your hiring decisions. And I think you'll be in a good spot.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll be talking soon.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time-free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence-informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.